Hello, I'm Jasper Smith, Senior Executive Editor for Commentary at Tax Notes. I'm here with Andres Berdugo, winner of the 2023 Tax Notes Student Writing Competition. Andres' paper analyzes the continuity of business enterprise doctrine, a judicially created tax doctrine intended to distinguish between transactions that are in substance sale transactions and those that affect only a readjustment of continuing interest in property under modified corporate form. Andres holds an LLM degree with concentrations in corporate law and taxation from Penn State Law, as well as an LLM in taxation from the University of California, Irvine School of Law. And his background is centered around corporate and tax law with a particular emphasis on M&A. So Andres has graciously agreed to join us and answer a few questions with us about his experience in the competition. And welcome, Andres.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, nice to have you. So first off, can you just start by giving us maybe a brief overview of the paper itself?
Yeah, of course, I will try. So my main thesis is like the continuity, the regulations that encapsulate the continuity of business enterprise doctrine, which is a doctrine that was created by case law and applies to corporate organizations. And their main idea of that doctrine is to differentiate transactions that are sales in essence from transactions that only affect a readjustment of continuity interest in property under modified corporate forms. So again, my main thesis is like those regulations don't follow the policy goal of the reorganization sections of the code. Because first I start with an analogy that I borrow for design theory, that is the idea of form follows function, and understanding the function of the sections that deal with organizations, with corporate organization, is to accept from the recognition treatment that applies de facto to transactions or when there are exchanges of property. And so we provide non-recognition treatment to those transactions that are not sales again, but only a readjustment of the continuity of interest in the property under a modified corporate form. But so I take two cases that show how the regulations, how they are drafted right now, do not follow that idea. So then I propose that to not eliminate COBE and to not try to come up with something new, I propose that we reassess COBE as a specific anti-abuse rule, and I think this is logically sound and this also is convenient. And also I recognize that this doesn't solve the whole problem. So I say, like, from what scholars have said, I basically take that and say, hey, the best way that we can deal with this is an interplay between COBE as a specific anti-abuse rule and the enactment or the adoption of a general anti-abuse rule that basically encompasses the policy goal of the organization provision of the code, and allow us to basically provide non-recognition treatment to non-abusive transactions and not allowing non-recognition treatment to transactions that could be abusive.
Yeah, no, it was a very high-level topic, and I think that listeners so far can probably tell from your answer that you did an extremely thorough job in covering it. So I'm sure that when it's published, our readers will enjoy reading that and following along in your reasoning, and hopefully we'll get some feedback based on what you just said, hopefully, and maybe start that conversation. So what led you to submit this paper to the student writing competition?
Well, when I decided to write this paper because I was encouraged by a Professor Joshua Blank, during my LLM. And one paper that he wrote inspired me to select the topic and also the approach that I gave. Even before I started writing, he encouraged us to submit the paper to the Tax Notes competition. So when I finished the paper and I I asked him, hey, what do you think? Do you think I could submit it? He encouraged me, he approved it, and for me it was like, okay, this is a go. So I decided to submit it to the Tax Notes competition.
Fantastic. So did you pick the topic based solely on his recognition, or was this something that you had kind of been interested in previously?
Yeah, so my professional experience has been in M&A and also in tax. So I like to explore the interplay between M&A and tax. And doing my reading and also talking to other professors, I decided that COBE would be a great topic to talk about.
Excellent. Excellent. Good to use the material that you were already familiar with and just work on that. So one of the reasons that we like to have these interviews with our winners is so that people who are potentially thinking about submitting to the competition in the future can look back and maybe get some ideas for how they should approach the contest. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe your drafting process?
Yeah, of course. So first, when I knew what I wanted to write about, um, at least from general, the topic I wanted to speak about, write about Kobe, I started reading everything I can get my hands on related Kobe, and start talking to professors and practitioners of what issues they were finding in Kobe. So from that, I gathered a lot of ideas. But of course, in the process of writing, so I started doing my outline. I started doing like doing my research, and in that process, I started recognizing some issues and going deeper and deeper on those issues. So it was like a discovery. I'd say the research was not like I knew where I wanted to get. It was like a discovery process. But the propositive part, on the other hand, came because I actually read a paper drafted by a professor in my home country in Colombia about understanding one requirement for corporate organization in Colombia is not Kobe, but understanding as an anti-abuse rule. So from that, I got the idea of how Kobe can be understood as an anti-abuse rule. And I start, again, like going deeper on that idea and trying to explore that idea. And that's how I came to the propositive part of my paper.
So you touched a little bit earlier on some assistance that you got with your from your professor, rather. So how did you get assistance from him while you were drafting?
I always say that I stand on his shoulders, and basically this achievement and my paper itself is based on his guidance, because he provided me with a framework, meaning that he set deadlines for me to knowing when should I deliver and what should I deliver. So from my outline to the first draft to choosing the topic, and also he provided me some guidance in that regard. I had like 7 topics I wanted to talk about. He encouraged me to choose topics that I was intellectually attracted to, and that's how I get to this topic. Even during the process, I was like, oh, I kind of want to write about something else too. And while he was very encouraging about that, he also was pulling me to the earth, trying to get me, hey, but let's finish this and let's write about this. So in that regard, I think that from his advice, I stand on his shoulders, but also, as I said before, the paper that he wrote was an inspiration for me. So and I value a lot of mentorship, and I think that when you are in the process of writing a paper, having a mentor, even if not as a professor, can be a practitioner, but having a person that is behind you, encouraging you, forcing you to keep dates and deadlines is very valuable.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice, and we certainly appreciate that he did that for you. But do you have any other advice that you might want to give to potential future entrants?
Yeah, of course. I recently I'm reading a book called Academic League of Writing by Professor Bullock, and I think it's marvelous. And I'm just gonna take a quote from that. He brought there's a preface by a judge from the Ninth Circuit. He says that a paper could be the best assessment of the skills of a lawyer. And I learned that from him, and I actually started agreeing with that, because the process of writing a paper helps you as a lawyer, I think, to identify good arguments, develop arguments, learning to be concise, because many times there are word limits or page limits, so you have to learn to be concise, to choose your sentences carefully, and trying to communicate what you want to say in the most efficient way. And I think that's what we all lawyers do all the time. We trying to persuade judges or persuade our clients or persuade adversaries that our position is at least reasonable or logical. So the process of writing a paper is a good assessment of your writing skills. That is something that as a lawyer, you're gonna do basically in our careers the whole time. So I even if somebody doesn't want to participate in the competition, just the process of writing a paper is something I think every lawyer should do.
So, Andres, a little bit about you before we wrap up. What are your future plans? What are you going to do now that you've finished your academic career and moved into the profession?
Well, luckily, I just accepted an offer to work in a law firm based in Texas called Chamberlain Herlica. So I'll be working in the tax controversy and also in international tax planning team. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so again, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciated the time that you spent with us today, and we certainly hope that, again, others can be inspired to submit in the future and follow in your footsteps, writing papers as well, okay?
Thank you so much.
You can read Andres' full piece online at taxnotes.com. And to learn more about the Tax Notes Student Writing Competition, visit taxnotes.com/students.
Want more like this? Subscribe for more tax videos. Special thanks to our executive producers, Jasper Smith and Paige Jones, showrunner and video editor, Jordan Parrish, and assistant video editors, Peyton Rhodes and Trigo.